Yuuji is a poor boy who was bullied by his father Ryoji because he had no talent and did not know what he would be in the future. However, his father was always pleased with his eldest daughter Kazuki, who already at the age of 4 began to repeat copies of great artists, and her drawings cost millions of dollars, because of which the family began to live comfortably. But a tragedy happened, due to which Yuuji lost his family and became an orphan. He was taken in by bandits and started to train him to destroy people. And so he became a cold-blooded elite soldier in the world at an early age. His parents often overlooked him, as they paid more attention to Kazuki, who had the makings of becoming a great artist, as evidenced by the cups she won over and over again. Yuuji, on the other hand, hated her for the fact that because of her everyone mocks him and he has no friends. However, Kazuki wanted to fix this and become not only a sister to Yuuji, but also the first friend, and therefore began to spend time with him and taught him how to throw the ball correctly. They began to talk heart to heart and play together, and his sister began to motivate him not to give up on the path to his dream, as she saw great potential in Yuuji. Arriving home, he immediately began to draw his first drawing. And although the drawing did not turn out so good at first glance, Kazuki was happy with such a drawing and called it a masterpiece. Suddenly, Ryoji entered the room, who was furious when he saw the drawing. Yuuji was hurt to hear such words from his father, and therefore tore his creation. After returning from school, Yuuji saw a stranger in the house who had come to buy Kazuki's painting. He offered Yuuji to take a chocolate bar from an interesting box. Ryoji called him an nonentity as he went to his room, and the stranger just smiled slyly in response. A few years later, Kazuki realized that she could not draw because of her parents' pressure, so she canceled all her drawing classes in Paris and started reading manga. She thought of Yuuji and gave him manga to read so that he would not be alone and meet someone with common interests. Their father has no friends, so she wants Yuuji not to be like a father and make friends. Kazuki's paintings became the only source of income for the family, so they often ate dinner at the restaurant, leaving Yuuji at home. However, Yuuji could only eat bread, as he is not allowed to touch the food in the refrigerator. Kazuki realizes that the family treats Yuuji badly, and so the next day he scolds his father and mother for not giving Yuuji enough attention. But this conversation has not changed anything in their family, and Yuuji is still treated with disrespect. His father hates him, and his mother simply avoids Satoko so as not to experience her husband's wrath, but they do not leave him without a piece of bread. The next day, Yuuji came home and told his sister that he was spending time with his girlfriend. She also begins to be jealous of his girlfriend and therefore asks to bring her to visit so that Kazuki can determine whether the girl is suitable for friendship or not. Kazuki is very worried that he will be bullied again and therefore wants to choose his friends herself. Kazuki invites him to go to the bathroom with her, saying that this is what siblings can do. Yuuji agrees. After a while, Kazuki entered a private school and betrayed her parents' hopes for a career as an artist. She started playing basketball and living a normal life hiding her talents. She loved to manipulate people, and her friends were her pawns. She also controlled her parents, which scared Yuuji very much since her influence extended to him, and he also depended on her until the moment when Kazuki's life was interrupted. The school bus fell into a ravine, and only one girl survived. This tragedy greatly shocked the family. The father became an alcoholic and began to abuse him by his mother. Satoko couldn't stand up to him, so she just apologized. One day they decided to pack up and leave for another city, as she could no longer live with the tyrant. They started a new life, where Satoko began to love Yuuji like a real mother, and even prepared food for him so that he would not starve. For Yuuji, life without a father seemed like heaven. However, a year later, the father found their new home. He came to retire with Satoko for the birth of a new artistic genius. These events took place in front of Yuuji, and he decides to intervene and stop Ryoji. However, the father raised his hand against his son, which is why he decides to destroy him in anger. Hitting him on the head with the bottle, Ryoji fell to the floor. The mother is in a broken state, and therefore tells Yuuji to just run away and gives him pocket money. They agreed to meet at the train station at night. However, when it was midnight, Yuuji was worried that his mother would not come, so he ran home. Seeing the police and the ambulance, as well as his father being carried out of the house, he immediately hurried home. He was horrified when he saw the police taking pictures, but his mother shocked him even more because she too had gone to another world. From this, he lost consciousness and later woke up in the hospital. He was handed a note from his mother, in which she apologized for what had happened and asked the boy to continue to live on. When he recovered and was discharged from a hospital, he was adopted by the same stranger named Heath Oslo. But his torment never came to an end, because Oslo put a dress and a wig on him, because he wanted a younger sister. But Yuuji put up with it since he had a rich house and food. This went on for a long time, until Oslo's bodyguard came to Yuuji and began to pester him. Yuuji was able to fight back and destroyed him. At this time, Oslo himself came, who was shocked by Yuuji's skills. Then Oslo realized that Yuuji could serve as a powerful tool for him, and therefore gave him to his own military camp, which was used for villainous purposes. It was in this camp that he was trained to be a cold-blooded elite soldier, which made him Oslo's favorite student. The rest of the soldiers did not like this, and therefore they began to mock him. However, Marlene took care of him, bandaging his injuries and giving him food that was taken by other soldiers. She became for him not just a friend, but a person on whom you can rely. The next day, Oslo himself wanted to fight Yuuji, and at the same time teach him another lesson, which says that Yuuji should not trust anyone, even his own family, since the whole world is his enemy. The day of the final exam arrived, the purpose of which was to fight the person standing in front of him. However, that person was Marlene. They got into a duel where Yuuji got the better of Marlene because he attacked so that Marlene could not even get up from the ground. However, after another kick, Yuuji saw Marlene fall to the ground and remembered his mother, who was taken by force by his father. These memories made Yuuji feel pain. Marlene took advantage of this and started attacking Yuuji without giving him a chance to get up. Yuuji took this as a punishment for all the sins that his father had done, and therefore just lay there and did nothing. Marlene kicked him into the air and ended this fight, and Oslo became disillusioned with Yuuji. After the fight, Marlene apologized to Yuuji, and he, in turn, did not want to hear such words anymore, because of the memories of his mother, because he felt helpless and weak. Since she won the fight, she said goodbye to Yuuji and left. This was their last meeting, and he never saw her again. After graduating from the military camp, Yuuji went on his first mission dressed as a girl. He went to a rich man's hotel disguised as a maid, and Yuuji successfully completed his task. He performed various tasks while the police tried to understand who is behind all the crimes. But after a long search, they arrived at the Oslo Palace and destroyed all of its guards. They then went down to the basement, where they found a steel door, which they later blew up. There, they found Yuuji sitting in a wig and handcuffed. Police officers rescued and took Yuuji with them, while Oslo managed to escape in a rubber boat. Already in the hospital, a police officer named Asako decided to take Yuuji with her to Japan to be raised. However, her colleague JB decides to go with them, as Asako has no experience with children. Upon entering the ward, she begins to treat Yuuji like garbage, for which she was angered by JB, saying that children should not be treated like that. She brought him to a house in the forest where Yuuji would live with Asako. For several days, Yuuji was at a loss after what had happened, and therefore did not even eat anything. Asako then decided to give Yuuji a bath, but they discovered his damaged body, which shocked them even more. Asako saw his thin body and injured body and ordered JB to bring them food. At the next breakfast, he accidentally destroyed a fly, which made him remember his past, and therefore he can no longer harm anyone due to childhood trauma. As Yuuji fell asleep, Asako confronts JB about his many injuries to his body and vows to her that he will protect Yuuji for the rest of his life. The next day, Asako gives Yuuji a puppy, which will now be not just a friend for him, but a faithful companion if he trains him well. Yuuji named the puppy John and started playing catch with him, and it was the first time Asako and JB saw him as a happy child. A few months later, Asako decides to quit her job, as her eyesight has deteriorated and she can no longer be a good shooter, and she is also afraid to leave for another world, as Yuuji will be left alone. JB warns her that by law she will have to be imprisoned or even destroyed. But Asako has no plans to give up her decision. Asako decides to train Yuuji. She makes him run around to please the girls. However, just running is not enough to make him strong, as the bad guys can easily bully him. So Asako starts attacking him so that Yuuji can defend himself and counterattack. But even this will not make him strong enough, because in addition to strength, you need to train the mind, and therefore Asako gives him many books, which will make him very wise. After reading the books, Yuuji sees Asako cleaning her weapons. Asako tells him that she works in a counter-terrorist organization and protects this world from bad people, and also asks Yuuji if he wants to go hunting. The next morning, Asako teaches him how to shoot accurately, motivating him that he will receive a gift if he hits the jar. This gave Yuuji strength, and he falls into the jar. Arriving home, Yuuji discovers a large suitcase, and inside it lies an excellent ranged weapon. They decide to test it in action, and therefore again go to the forest. They see a deer, and Yuuji wanted to destroy it, but he was again visited by memories from the past, because of which he could not do it. But Asako understands his feelings and what he experienced, unlike the other child, and therefore does not blame him for weakness. The next day, Yuuji wakes up to John's barking and finds a bear in the house. Yuuji immediately ran for his present. However, after targeting the bear, Yuuji was never able to destroy it due to the memories. Then the bear takes his dog as prey and leaves. When Yuuji mustered up his courage, he decides to go after the bear and destroy it, since John is part of his family. However, he slips and misses, and his weapon is filled with mud. The bear heard a roar, and therefore began to attack Yuuji. However, memories flash before Yuuji that tell him to destroy the bear, and then he blinds him with the help of a branch, and then decides to finish him off completely. But little bear cubs arrive and use John as food. Then Yuuji could not destroy the bear and wonders why his dog became food for bears, because there are so many living creatures in nature. Arriving home, Asako is waiting for him, to whom Yuuji tells about what happened. She consoles him. In the evening, they bury John's collar in his memory, and Yuuji wants to be like Asako, not to be weak, but able to stand up for himself and his family. Then Asako said that he had to save 5 lives, and for that he had to be ready to pull the trigger. He must do this not for himself, but for the sake of others. Asako also added that he can't destroy anyone unless she gives him a direct order. A few years later, Asako's health begins to deteriorate. Yuuji suspects that this is all because of the alcohol, and therefore forbids her to drink, because she is the only one left with him. Due to poor health, she refuses to go to work. As her work phone rings, Asako orders Yuuji to tell her that she won't be on her mission. Yuuji picked up the phone, and without having time to say a word, he agrees to the task, because if Asako had not gone to work, she would have been sent to prison. This was Yuuji's first task that he completed successfully. A couple of days later, JB arrives, who is interested in Asako's health, and also praises her for a job well done. Asako confesses that Yuuji took over for her on a mission, infuriating JB. However, Yuuji asked not to be angry, as this was his true desire, and he wants to repay Asako and JB in this way for raising him. JB takes Yuuji away to talk to him alone. She asks him if he definitely wants to follow this path, since this path was most likely forced on him by Asako. Yuuji replies without hesitation that he really wants to commit his life to this and repay Asako and JB. After the conversation, Asako informs Yuuji that he is flying to America to enroll in a military academy. On the bus, he is approached by a black man named Donnie, who asks him why he is going to the academy, to which Yuuji jokingly replies that he destroyed his parents, which scares Danny. After receiving her certificate, Danny tends to stay close to Yuuji, which makes them close friends. The next day, Yuuji meets Agnes, a captain and drill sergeant, also known for her strictness towards soldiers. She especially singles out Yuuji, as he studied with Asako, who is considered the best in her field. During training, Danny starts to fall behind his co-workers and asks Yuuji to wait for him, but Yuuji responds by giving him advice to quit smoking and running on. Even while swimming, Danny is unable to swim fast due to his weak respiratory system, and Yuuji in turn supports his friend, causing him to keep swimming. While shooting, Yuuji shows the commander incredible skill with a long-range weapon, as only Asako had such a result. All of this is overheard by Melila, who is jealous of Yuuji as he won first place in long-range shooting. After the celebration, she approaches Yuuji asking to talk, but she starts attacking him instead. Yuuji in turn restrains her attacks and asks her to apologize. He learns that it was she who took second place in shooting, and therefore she offers him a bet in which the winner is the one who hits the bank from a long distance. Melila said that her father also studied at this academy and was the best in long-range shooting, and Nilila did not believe his words, as she considered it drunken nonsense. After Yuuji's first miss, she tells him to finish, as the task seemed impossible. However, Yuuji takes aim and hits the jar directly, saying that her father didn't lie to her. Nilila was shocked, but she realized that she could trust Yuuji, and he became her friend. Yuuji's college education is over, and he left America for his final exam. Every day, Yuuji did the same actions, which allowed him to bring them to automatic and ideal, and this also strengthened Yuuji's confidence. When the soldiers were ready for battle, they were given the task of destroying the enemies on the island. Yuuji's team consisted of 4 people: Danny, a car thief; Nilila, a girl of easy virtue; Robert, a computer genius; and Yuuji himself, who cannot destroy anyone. Having reached the camp, they get acquainted with their new commander Justin, who orders them to set traps from enemies. At night, when the guys were already resting, Yuuji felt the approach of the enemy, and therefore orders everyone to stand on alert. When the massacre began, Yuuji tried to destroy the enemy, but he vomited. His fellow soldiers fought valiantly and waited for reinforcements, but Yuuji couldn't lie down and watch his team being attacked by the enemy, so Nilila gives him shells for him. He aims, but realizes that he cannot destroy anyone. Then the commander encourages him by saying that he no longer has to watch his loved ones leave in front of him, because his colleagues are already part of his family, which means Yuuji must pull the trigger for the sake of his family. Yuuji is tired of feeling weak, and therefore he destroys 9 enemies, and then goes to bed in the commander's arms. When he wakes up, he learns that everything ended in victory, as reinforcements arrived and the enemies retreated. This went on for several months, and Yuuji got used to seeing what was happening around him, that it no longer scared him, but only made him crazier. Their team destroyed many enemies and won this mission. This means that Yuuji is going free, as he has completed military training and earned the rank of corporal. Nilila is upset because she was in love with him, but Danny cheers her up, and Nilila herself wants Yuuji only to find happiness. He returned to his home, where Asako was waiting for him, who saw in him no longer a boy, but a real man. For the first time, he felt happy that he was alive, but he still did not know what to do with his life, and therefore Asako would shine it. He completed the final training at the airport, where he saved the girl. It was on this mission that he last saw Danny smiling broadly. A few months later, during Yuuji's business trip to Spain, he receives a call from JB, who informs him that Asako has passed out. Yuuji immediately went to Japan. Doctors reportedly diagnosed Asako as chronically ill due to the many times she was injured on missions, as well as the substances she had been taking throughout her life. As soon as Yuuji arrives home, JB informs him that Asako passed out many times during the day and slept for a very long time. Yuuji sees Asako, who in turn begins to apologize to him for not spending the rest of their lives together, as her life is already nearing its end. From what he heard, Yuuji begins to cry, because he is tired of losing loved ones, and Asako is the last person close to him. The meaning of Yuuji was to live with Asako, and now he does not know why he should live and for whom. Asako encourages him to live for himself and find the very girl who will give him love and warmth. She says she is tired and asks Yuuji for permission to close her eyes and sleep. He has already come to terms with her departure from life, and therefore agrees to a long sleep. GB's people took care of Asako's body, and Yuuji himself was at a loss for not understanding how to continue to live. At night, he thinks of leaving this life and meeting Asako. However, he sees her silhouette, which says that he must save 5 people before he leaves for another world. But for now, he cannot do this. Yuuji was depressed for several days until JB came and invited him to live in her apartment. Living together, they would support each other and heal each other's wounds. However, JB constantly reminded him of Asako, and therefore she began to come home less often late at work, because she was also hurt by Asako's departure. When Yuuji had more free time, he began to think about traveling, as he and Asako made an agreement to go to the mountains together on motorcycles when he was still a child. Yuuji decided to make Asako's dream come true and went on a journey, arguing that perhaps it was there that he would find his meaning in life. While traveling, he meets different people and rides Asako's motorcycle. On the road, he texts JB that he loves her, and then his motorcycle breaks down, so he calls a tow truck. A stranger drives up to him, who asks if he can be given a lift somewhere, to which Yuuji replied that he did not know where he was going and why he was traveling. the stranger laughs and says it's fun being young. This phrase changed Yuuji's consciousness, and he wants not to miss his youth, and therefore he writes to GB that he is ready to go back home. He says that he wants to go to a normal school and live a normal life. However, he receives a call from the military unit, which says that he must complete the task, and refusal or miss is punishable by prison, and is considered high treason. Yuuji has no choice but to agree. He lays down in a comfortable position and aims at the target that he should destroy. He plays the music from the music box, which he heard the last time the stranger offered him candy, and on the ship in the very sight he sees the target, which shocked him. Asako was there, who tells him that he has returned. If you want to continue, then write about it in the comments. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, like and press the bell so as not to miss new videos. AniMap was with you. Bye everyone.